And a very good day to you. It's Dave Lane here again from Dutch Tents UK, showcasing another beautiful classic Dutch canvas pyramid tent. This one is a Carl Denig. It's called a Super Orion, and it is a large lightweight. I think it probably looks a bit smaller in the video that I'm shooting here on the outside, and as we go round it has a small appearance, but it's a bit TARDIS like when you go inside. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So first of all, I'm going to show you round the tent and I'm going to show you the condition. So first thing here is we have a vented window, which is all really good condition. Got a big front door here. This tent also comes with two sets of the poles which convert the door into a sun canopy. I will showcase some pictures of that with this advert on my Facebook page. So first of all, let's just pan out and have a little look around. So first of all, it's made from a lightweight 150 to 180 gram canvas. Beautifully well engineered and well made. Everything's sewn on really well. With a storm skirt, and this too has tabs sewn on, so you'd peg that down in bad weather, and in good weather you just let it flap around and let the sun get in, let the air get in there, so it isn't too hot inside. The condition of the tent is really good. There's no, snags and repairs. There's a few user marks like that, but generally, another little one up there, but generally this canvas is extremely clean, very bright, very clean, just as it looks in the video. There's Carl Denig patch. So let's go inside and have a little look. So with the door up, we can go inside and have a little look. We've got a big inner tent. It's on the floor. And then this carpet looking thing is a carpet. And it's a carpet that goes inside the inner tent. I'll come to all that in a minute. I haven't put it up because I've got quite an extensive photo bank of this tent. And I wanted to give you an idea of what it's like in terms of scale and size. I think the best way to do that is to leave the inner tent down. So this is 3.5 meters wide, it's 4.5 meters deep, which means it has the same inside footprint as a De Woord Lepela or a Randstad Bunzing. So it's quite a sizable tent. The inner tent is designed to sleep 4. That would be on air mattresses in self-inflators rather than, formal air beds. It's 2.6 wide and it's 2 meters deep, front to back. And as I said, it has this lovely carpet. So there's these little lugs there that hook into corresponding tabs on the inner tent on the inside. The quality of that, it's all banded. This is a wool-rich carpet, so it's not 100% wool, but it's wool-rich, and it's absolutely sumptuous. There's a few little pinprick holes in it at the back, nothing major at all, really, not even worth fixing. But it just adds that lovely bit of luxury and extra comfort and warmth into the floor of the inner tent, and it's lovely. So we can see it's held up by an A-frame, although it's a lightweight tent which typically have all aluminium poles. As you can see here, the door poles, these are aluminium nesting poles. The A-frame on this is a steel affair. It's the same sort of poles that you'd find on the uprights on most Dutch pyramid tents, really. Has a little bar there, and that corresponds. So this clips over it, and that holds up the inner tent, which is just gorgeous, really lovely. A fine cotton there and a slightly thicker cotton, smooth cotton on the outside. And then we have a nice PU coated PVC ground sheet, really nice and waterproof, but still quite light. And then that is pegged out with those tabs, and then you will have secondary guy ropes for the inner tent. So you can see you can create a deep wall. So this is like a bathtub inner tent. As I said, it'll sleep 4. Realistically, I think it's, you know, better for 2 or 3. For 2, absolute sheer luxury. I know this because my wife and I used Super Orion a couple of years ago in Herefordshire, and it was dreamy. It was really, really hot weather. And that's where these come into their 4. Although, as I've said, you can peg down the ground sheet, the storm skirt. If you don't, and you leave it open like this and allow the wind to come in, or even to use a couple of pegs to actually prop and hold the skirt upwards, then you will, as the heat builds up in the tent, it'll draw in cooler air underneath, so you get a lot of ventilation. So in warm weather, in hot weather, these are lovely to be inside. Not like a plastic crisp packet where you've got to get out because you're suffocating with the heat. These are actually quite nice. One of the other, I think, one of the other ways of looking at the way you use this tent is once you have your inner tent in there, you have this significant amount of space. I mean, this is standard garden furniture, but you can see it kind of gets swallowed up inside the tent. This living space is significant. You can open up these front walls here that the doors zip to, and you can tie them back there, and then the same on that side. So effectively what you have is the front of the tent completely open. So what you're creating is using the front living area as a large awning, as a large canopy. So the modern DeWard range, is it the Koofmees, is that how you pronounce it? The really gorgeous orange tents with the big arched front and then the sleeping bit at the back. They've cottoned on to this idea that you don't actually necessarily always need a huge big ground sheet with it, you know, covering the living area. What do you actually need that for? You could easily have a fit-in lightweight ground sheet in here if you wanted, and then you can just use this as a whole awning, and of course your bedroom's at the back. And I think for 2 or 3, that's where these things really come into their own. Height-wise, that A-frame takes you to about 2 meters, and then the roof swoops down a little bit, and then it picks up again for the door poles, which are sort of 170, 175. Now I'm 5'9", and my head does touch the tent, the roof, but just stooping slightly going into the middle. You know, it's really, really not a problem. I mean, if you're a 6.5 footer, you may find this a little bit too low. I think these are really summer tents, you know. They're certainly good in rough weather. They're good and waterproof. If you peg them out properly, they'll take the wind load, no problem, but perhaps not to the extent as a full bore, you know, pyramid storm tent, a Randstad or a DeWard or a good Esvo or a Rebuta or something. But certainly on nice summer camping, which, let's be honest, it's what most of us do, this is just dreamy. They're there to die for. Really easy to handle. In fact, the whole thing folds up, look at this, into a suitcase. Comes as old vintage suitcase. Locks have gone, I'm afraid. It's got to be held together with a bit of rope, but you know what, you kind of expect that. But the whole tent goes in there. I'm afraid with the A-frame, the metal A-frame, the weight is, you know, probably around 20 kilos. So I'm going to give an option with this. Although that's the standard setup, the standard A-frame, I know people who've bought these Super Orions before have made a conversion to a single pole, which is ever so easy to do. You just get a single pole, king pole, and pop it through the hole and just have a standard king pole. So I have a aluminium extender that I will also make available with this if you want it. The advantage of the A-frame is really that if you just don't have obviously any frame, any poles in the way. So if you have this tent in this bivouac state, completely open, then having a king pole in the way, you know, it's in the way. Having the A-frame, it's when it really comes into its own. But I think also with the way it supports the inner tent, It's nice not to have the pole in the way, but it's a preference. A single pole is a lot easier, and frankly it's a lot lighter. So if you had a normal aluminium pole and then use the aluminium door poles, this tent would be perfectly good for a festival. You could easily, particularly if you left the inner tent out in the carpet, there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't hack this across a field into a festival, and you could sleep a lot of people in here. All you'd need to do is to buy a nice big tarp for a ground sheet, ideally something around 4 meters wide and 5 meters deep, so it comes up at the sides, so the side walls go underneath it, and you'd have yourself one hell of a bivouac tent. And then you have the advantage of popping the inner tent up if you want to go away camping for a weekend and you want something just a little bit more, you know, warm, snug and comfortable. So there you are. Really, really lovely bits of kit, really good quality, brilliant quality. Carl Denig, the workmanship in their tents is superb, really, really high quality. Classic old Dutch pyramid tent, in wonderful condition. So if you're interested, it's going to be available soon. Thank you very much for your time.